Channel 17, are we ready?
Yes.
Folks, you guys ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Please, welcome to the Essex Junction Trustee meeting. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And welcome, everybody. And if you haven't signed in, please do so. And first order of business, Pat, agenda additions. I think we have
Yes,
several.
sir. Well, we do have one.
Oh, we have one.
Well, one that I know of,
Okay.
and that is the credit card payment account needs to be established, and it should come under new business 6E.
Okay.
That's the only one I have. Do you have?
Okay, no, I saw something else on my desk here, but I realized
Okay.
it's something, it was just a note for me.
And that's it?
Thank you so much. So do I hear a motion to?
No, I'll move we accept the agenda as amended.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right. So we are on to audience guests to be heard, members of the public to be heard about things that are, some things that's not on the agenda tonight. So here we are. Chris?
I think you might remember last year I came after the Wolfsgart concert
Yes.
and said it was just basically a drunken party all night long.
Yes.
Well, you granted them a waiver to they could make as much noise as they wanted. And once again, it was an even bigger drunken party. There were fireworks, there were cars revving. You know, the sound monitoring shows that they, more than doubled the maximum sound level at some points, and, like at 3 a.m.
I thought this was going to be, okay. I'm surprised.
Yeah. Did you talk to Tim today?
I did. And he said he was surprised because he hadn't heard anything, which is another kind of issue I have. I called the police several times. Somehow, when you report the fairgrounds, it's not registered as a noise file, a complaint, like it would be any place else in the town. They just call down to somebody at the fairgrounds and it's forgotten. And so I really think that's a bad process.
Okay. This was, what was the issue last night, last year was that the police were called to break up. As I remember, the police actually had to go there and break up fights and they were called to the scene at that point.
They were definitely there.
And they were there again this year?
Theoretically, I didn't see them when I went down,
Okay.
but Tim said that they were, so I believe him. But it's a big area, and
Okay. All right. I don't have I haven't heard about, I did not know about this. I knew that it was going to be allowed again, but I thought that they were warned once and understood that they had to maintain control over this, so I don't know what to say to you at this point.
What was the name of that?
The Wolfsgart?
Wolfsgart.
Wolfsgart?
WOLFSGART.
Yeah. The only thing that I can say is that we'll call the CVE and find out what happened, what this was about, because if this is gonna happen, if it's gonna be up all night partying, as you're saying, then it can't continue. Something has to be done, so I think Tim will have to discuss this with us.
Yeah. If I may, sir?
Yeah.
The Wolfsgart camping overnight events scheduled for August 4th through the 6th were to run from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. They were to start in the evening and end in the morning.
Okay.
So it was a night event.
It was a night event, but they were making, the noise monitoring was...
I think it was the noise.
So the daily event is ridiculous as well, because all day long, all I hear are people revving their engines to the point that they then backfire. I don't know how you get a car to backfire 6 times in a row, but that's my reality for when they're there, and that's bad and clearly against our noise ordinance. But they're allowed to do it.
Okay. Don't know, don't have a good answer for you. I'm surprised that it was back, if it was the same as it was last year, I'm surprised that that was allowed. I thought it was understood that they got out of control, and so it was going to be put under control this year. I don't have more to say to you about it right now.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Chris.
I'll be interested to see what happens.
Okay, anyone else? We good? Okay. So we are now on to an update. Mr. David Vigel, Executive Director of Essex Chips. Welcome.
Thank you. Okay, if I sit
Yes,
here?
please.
All right. I am David Vogel.
Vogel, sorry, I
That's
mispronounced your
okay.
name.
No one gets it right, at least not the first time. I'm so delighted to be here tonight. I'm so delighted to be working at Essex Chips. I wanted to note first off that one of the reasons I accepted the position was because of how astounded I was with the support from the community for this program. The fact that there is this space that has a value of probably $60,000 a year that is donated for the use of teens and tweens in serving Essex and Essex Junction is a remarkable in-kind contribution, and it's a wonderful space. The agency is also unique in having a board of directors, of which nearly half of them are teens themselves. And I've worked in many nonprofits over the years, and I've always felt that I wanted to see young people represented on boards of directors, and it was always very difficult to convince boards that that was a good idea. And so this agency really stands out, and this community stands out in its support of this agency. Darby was mentioning to me that about once a year, CHIPS comes and meets with the trustees, so I think this is our annual State of CHIPS presentation. And from my perspective, CHIPS is doing very well, and I'm hoping you'll be very pleased with how the progress it's making and its plans for doing more and having a greater impact in the year ahead. I wanted to tell you briefly about myself because I noticed on the website tonight, my picture is there, but it says for my bio to come later, so I guess I better present it now since it's not. I'm native New Englander from Connecticut, Danbury, Connecticut. Most of my professional career had been in Massachusetts, Central and Western Mass. My position most relevant to CHIPS was as Executive Director of Dial Self Youth and Community Services in Greenfield, Mass. For 12 years. I had a meeting today with Val Smith, the first Executive Director for CHIPS, and I was commenting to her that she was impressed with my 12 years at Dial Self, and I said, wait till you see my 12 years here. So I'm excited about the job and the community and the work that we can accomplish together. My most recent role, I just want to fill in my background. I have been a director of a First Call for Help in Amherst, Massachusetts, which was before the 211 systems came into place around the country. It was First Call for Help that was run by United Ways across the nation. I was the director of a First Call for Help for 5 years in Amherst. I then became the first executive director of Mass 211. I played a key role in getting 211 started in Massachusetts, and I've forged a good relationship with Vermont 211 at this point. I see work ahead in promoting the needs of young people and using 211 as a vehicle to do that. I spent 12 years at Dial Self Youth Services, and then the last 4.5 years were in New York State. I was managing an early care, it was the Early Care and Learning Council for the state of New York, working with a much younger population. My wife and I had wanted for years to be in Vermont, and I had applied for years to work in Vermont, and for whatever reason, I came in number 2 a number of times, and I couldn't figure it out. And so last year, when I had applied for a position in Burlington and I came in number 2, I asked the person heading the search committee if she had any advice for me, and she said, yeah, you better move to Vermont, because we don't like to hire people from out of state. And so my wife and I moved to Vermont almost a year ago. And then 3.5 months ago, I went through the process of becoming the executive director at CHIPS. So it was good advice.
That's right.
CHIPS, as most of you probably know, have a far, far greater knowledge of the history of CHIPS than I do. You're familiar with our mission, which, instead of even trying to paraphrase it here, it's to promote positive youth development for young people in Essex and Essex Junction and the community of Westford. And positive youth development is achieved through a variety of programs and services. In our case, it's the Tween Center and the Teen Center. It's the Friendships Mentoring Program. It's the Adventure Orientation Program. It's our Above the Influence program with high school students. And we are in the process of a statewide contract to provide coaching services to school districts, 19 school districts across the state who, on tobacco issues related to tobacco prevention. So we are managing a team of coaches who are located in different parts of the state, who are offering advice and consultation to these high-risk 19 school districts across the state. CHIPS has played a role as a statewide agency for this program. It's funded through the Department of Education, the Agency on Education. We also have other initiatives that we are working on, and I'm just not ready to present them yet, but when we are ready to present them, I think you're going to be excited about them. A new program in particular that will help increase further the visibility of CHIPS and will strengthen the services to young people in Essex Junction and the town of Essex. So that's coming up down the road, and we believe it's going to be very successful, and within a couple months I hope to be able to share that information with you. Our Tween Center opened yesterday, and we had nearly 40 young people from the Fleming School who participate in the Tween Center. And today we opened the Teen Center, and that's the middle school students, and we had close to 20 middle school students today, which are right on target in terms of opening day numbers. We did receive a grant this past year to expand the Above the Influence program, which previously we had been running the program on a shoestring, did not have dedicated funding support for it. We got a grant from the ADAP, the Alcohol Drug Abuse Prevention State Agency, and for a expansion grant of our Above the Influence program. Our first night with the ATI group of high school students was last week. We had 11 high school students show up. We're expecting to reach 20 to 30 high school students participating in the program this year. And ATI, Above the Influence, is a peer prevention program. It's young people who are committed to being free of substances, who are providing support to their peers related to all the pressures that come upon teens, whether it be stress, whether bullying, wide variety of issues are right there in front of middle and high school students that can cause a lot of negative outcomes if there isn't support. And the teens from the ATI program are part of our team in providing support to students in the community. The Adventure Orientation Program does 2 4-day hikes in the Green Mountains. They did one late in July and one in early August. We had 20 youth participating in the August trip and about 10 in the July one. And this is a wonderful and, again, unique program of providing an orientation for students leaving middle school and entering high school. That's who it's open to, our middle school students graduating into high school. And it's a great way to boost self-confidence, help steer them down a path that's going to be very positive for them in the years ahead. And I did not realize it until recently that it is, to the best of our knowledge, the only high school program of its type in Vermont. So that's something to be, for the agency and the community to be very proud of, that we are providing that type of experience for youth entering high school. We also are in the process of growing in other ways. We have board recruitment efforts going on. We have a new chair of the board of directors, Jenny London, lives in Williston. We have a new strategic vision that we are in the process of developing that will set our sights on the next 3 to 5 years, and we believe it's going to help guide the agency and will be able to show the communities that we're serving where we're going and why we're going that direction, and asking for the support of the communities. We have a new fundraiser that we're going to be doing. We have 2 new fundraisers this year. One is tomorrow night, the Bluebird Barbecue in Burlington. All proceeds, we will be getting 10% of all proceeds for the evening. We just needed to bring 25 people there, and I'm pretty sure we've got way more than that already, but feel free to come and enjoy barbecue at Bluebird and help support a good cause. You're already doing it, but what the heck, you can have barbecue. In addition, we also I've neglected to mention that we are a key player in the Chittenden Prevention Network. We're working on policies related to tobacco prevention and alcohol and marijuana and over-the-counter drug misuse, and trying to prevent that from happening through public policy, through environmental awareness of how many liquor stores does a small community really need, or how are they displaying their tobacco wares, and are they trying to attract kids with tobacco advertising? So there's a lot that we work with the network and other networks across the state to try to raise awareness about prevention issues and to provide a community dialogue about why these issues are important and what we can do jointly to prevent youth from going down that path. The other fundraising event I want to mention is one that, it's a replication of one that I started at Dial Self Youth and Community Services, and it's one of the best things I did there, and it's the Badminton Bash. And it will be an indoor event, probably in January or February, time of year when people are starting to getting a little cabin fever and wondering what they're going to do that next weekend. The Badminton Bash is an indoor badminton tournament for people of all ages. Badminton is the great American backyard sport. Everyone has played badminton in someone's backyard at some point in your life. At Dial Self, we were able to attract 100 to 150 people each year and would raise $10,000 through a one-day event. So we're looking to do that with CHIPS. We also have in the spring a new fundraising event that we are planning, which feels unique, at least in the name, and that it would be to do a water-based event at the reservoir probably, and I don't have the details. I haven't been to the reservoir, but I know it's there somewhere. But it would be some sort of fun aquatic event, maybe an inner tube race across the reservoir. And the name of it is a stroke of genius. It's Chips Ahoy. So we're looking forward to the Badminton Bash and Chips Ahoy. We have funding applications going out to enhance our services and continue to strengthen our services to the youth in this community. Our budget this year is close to $300,000, but that takes into account the $60,000 of in-kind support that we receive from the village. We have going to be launching a major donor campaign this year, which the agency has not done, to the best of my recollection, in the past. We are looking forward to working with new community partners and helping to give a little new energy into the Essex Healthy Youth Coalition, which has been vital to the community for some 30 years, was starting point for the teen center and CHIPS. And over the last few months has perhaps just lost a little energy because of some transitions, and including transitions at CHIPS. CHIPS wasn't able to provide same stable leadership over the last few months. So we're ready to jump in and offer our support and leadership to the Healthy Youth Coalition to the extent they would like it. And we believe that they're going to be excited about what we're doing. So I don't want to take too much of your time tonight. I will talk on and on if you let me. Do you have any questions I could answer for you?
I have one. So I worked a lot with CHIPS in regards to the farmers market.
Yes.
They were very instrumental in helping us get that off the ground. And I know over the years they've relied a lot on AmeriCorps volunteers, but that seemed to also cause some issues in that every year there was a transition, and sometimes the kids lost some contacts with some people. And I didn't know if that was still a good way for you to have volunteers, have staff, if you're continuing that, or if you're trying to go more.
Well, the farmers market itself.
Well, that, I'm not talking
oh.
specifically, but I'm just
But-
saying my connection with CHIPS has been that they've used.
Yes, and
AmeriCorps.
so with AmeriCorps, I believe 2 to 3 years ago, we had 4 AmeriCorps members, and we were that was great. The 4 members did not all last the term, and because we were able to get all 4 successfully through that year, the number of members that were available to us went down. And last year, we only had 1 AmeriCorps member. However, I approached the state AmeriCorps program in July and said, we have a new project concept that we want to float by you and see if this is something you would be willing to invest another member in. And they said yes, so we have 2 AmeriCorps members this year. The new staff on board are Justin, who's a program director, in addition to Eliza, who's a program director, and our 2 AmeriCorps members are Aubrey and James. And we have a team of 5 full-time people, which I think the agency hasn't been that well staffed in a couple of years, I don't believe.
Yeah, that's great. That's good news.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions?
I totally admire your energy. So I think I'm probably speaking for the whole board in saying that. And I think it's great it's reassuring for us to see the donation being taken advantage of the way you have planned in mind to do. So welcome.
Good.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, and we like it. We love CHIPS, and we've always supported, the community's always supported, and so we're looking forward to continuing that support.
Good. Well, I look forward to having further conversations with you.
Sure, absolutely.
Great.
Anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. And now we have an update or a presentation about an Eagle project, Boy Scout Eagle project by Jacob Lemieux. Jacob, welcome.
Hi all.
Hi.
Thank you all for having me.
Sure.
Shake all your hands before we get started.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, Jacob.
Hi.
So I have some papers for you all. Unfortunately, I only made 5 copies, but I'm more than happy to make more copies.
We might have some, or is it the picture of the project?
Yeah, all 4 of the papers.
We might, look up here, unless it's something, we might have these already on our
Perfect.
iPads.
Those are all.
Okay.
All right. So, essentially, the project is I'm building 4 bus stop or whatever, 4 small cube benches, 2 by 2 by 2, for 2 bus stops in Essex Junction and 2 bus stops in Essex Town. The ones in the junction will be the intersection of Brickyard Road and Main Street, and along Summit Street. And so, essentially, I'm in the process of working on permitting and getting permission to place all these. They will be placed and held down with sandbags, and then Green Mountain Transit will take care of removing them in the winter and placing them back in the spring. I also have an idea of having each one of them being individual, so maybe different art on each side of them. I don't know. So yeah, I'm open to any questions or feedback.
Where did you get the inspiration for this? It's a good
So,
idea.
Initially, I was planning on building a bus shelter for one of the local bus stops in Essex Town because that's where I live, and they basically told me it would be $25,000. So we came up with this solution, which is I think would be helpful for most of the community. I've seen a lot of people using the bus stops, and there's just no seating or anything. So
Yeah.
Would you do the artwork? You're building them,
Yes.
but if you individualize each one, would you do the artwork as well, or have someone work with you?
I'm open to it. I think at least one will be done by my troupe, and then maybe line up 3 local artists or something else for the other 3.
Great. Great idea.
How are you going to build these? Do you have your own power tools, or how's it going to work?
Yeah, I have my own power tools, and the ones I don't have, I will line up with my relatives because they're all pretty savvy with this kind of stuff. So,
All right.
and materials, I don't think it'll be any issue getting a hold of any of them. It's just basic plywood and that kind of stuff. So.
Okay. Now, I am going to warn you that when you leave something out in the public, we never know what's going to happen to it. So
Yes.
you're willing to take that risk?
Yes.
Okay, you're willing to do that. All right, good. Just wanted to make sure.
What is your timeline for this?
So right now I'm in the process of getting permission for all these. Then it'll be fundraising, which I hope to get done by the end of this month. And then it will be assembly and painting all of them. And I hope to get them all done by mid-October. I had initially wanted it to happen by mid-August, but it all fell apart. So.
Any questions for us?
Not that I can think. Actually, yes, I do have one. I don't know if you guys know the specific placement of where I will have to place them, but would there be any regulations as to places that I can put them in or not put them?
Pat?
Well, as long as they're in a public right of way and you have the select board's permission to place them in the public right of way, then,
Trustees.
trustees,
Doesn't matter.
back-to-back meeting, sorry. As long as you have the trustees' permission, then that's really the one thing you have to worry about. So, sounds like a good thing. Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
I've never been an Eagle Scout. What's involved in becoming an Eagle Scout? It seems quite important.
Yeah, it's pretty involved. So from Scout until when I'm at Life Scout now, there's 6 ranks, and it's a lot of community service and working on merit badges. So I don't know, some of my favorites were life-saving, swimming, camping, just a lot of survival and life skills that are important. And then Eagle Scout, the one big part is this project. It's getting out and being involved in the community and having a project or making a project that is beneficial to the community.
Do you have to leave the Boy Scouts once you've made Eagle Scout, or is it?
You're allowed to stay until you're 18. There's some progress that you can make after you have Eagle Scout.
I just think, congratulations.
Yeah,
someone
it's
to have
terrific,
this,
yeah.
ambitious
It's terrific.
drive, it's wonderful.
It's terrific. It's great.
And how old are you? Can I ask?
17.
And will you bring us pictures of the boxes
Of
when they're
course.
completed?
I'll get to walk by one on a regular basis, so thank you.
Yeah. Great project, thank you.
Yeah, nicely done.
Well, I was just gonna ask a quick question. I read a little bit about it. You said something about putting some sand or something to make it stable, to keep it from being blown around or pushed easily. Wondering also about what you're gonna put, as far as how you're gonna, what you're making of it. What are the materials you're gonna use? It's something about wood, but I'm just thinking about with weathering and wood, and I know there's some kind of composite wood now that's more like it's plastic, which wouldn't be splinters or anything like that, so I don't know if that's something you've thought about.
So the plans right now is to use pressure treated plywood and then decking for the top so that water can seep through, and it should be pretty resistant, and then multiple coats of paint and a clear coat if I can. And then it'll be held down with sandbags, either chained or tied.
Mhm. Good. The other thing is, it can be in the right way, but also it wouldn't, hopefully it won't impede, for ADA, for handicapped people, anybody with a wheelchair or such, or, strollers or what have you, that would be utilizing the sidewalk.
I mean, if I can put them on the grass, I feel like that would be more of an option than on the sidewalk. I don't really want to put it in the middle of the sidewalk, it'd be kind of obstructive, so.
Well, when the time comes, someone from the village, and probably also from the town, can help you with the placement when you, someone will probably want to, just come in here, I don't know if Robin or Terry would go, and they could probably tell them exactly where to put
Probably
it.
Ricky.
Maybe Rick, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when you're ready, just come on over to the village office and say, I'm ready, can someone come over, meet me at a certain time, and they could probably show you how best to place it.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Any other questions?
Congratulations.
Well,
Great
thank
on
you
the
very
project.
much.
Yeah,
Thank you all for
Thank
your
you.
time.
Thank you.
Okay. So we are on to old business. And our first item of business is Mr. Lemieux's Eagle Scout project.
Yes.
And I will make a motion that we approve Jake Lemieux's request to place 2 seating cubes in the right-of-way at bus stops in Brickyard Road and Summit Street.
Second. Elaine got it.
Elaine got it?
Yep.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. And now we are on to approve and sign tax stabilization agreement for 8 Pearl Street with Lauren.
Yeah, so back in January, the trustees signed a letter of commitment for tax stabilization for 8 Pearl Street.
Right.
And at that time, the assessed value of the property was $193,800. So we requested that a minimum of $19,380 worth of work be done and improvements, and Mr. Patton submitted invoices for $24,235, which is more than he was needed to do. And so we now have the tax stabilization agreement that we would like to recommend that you sign. Over the 5 years at this year's tax rate, it will cost the village $1,870.50.
I'm going to take a minute to let me clarify how tax stabilization works, because sometimes there's some confusion about it. We look at properties that are worth a certain value, and the owner invests in the property and raises the property value, meaning that we would get more taxes out of it. But we don't take the tax benefit right away. We acquire the tax benefit slowly. That's tax stabilization, as I understand it. Is that correct?
That's
Okay.
correct.
Is correct.
So no village taxpayer is actually paying for someone's tax
No, they're
stabilization.
just foregoing extra.
That's right.
revenue.
So we just wanted to
Continuing
clarify
pay the
that.
base.
For a while.
They are
Right.
continuing to pay what
But-
they've always paid.
Right.
But other taxpayers are not paying for someone's tax stabilization.
That's right.
Okay.
And Randy Vian's estimated that the value after improvement would be $250,000.
fantastic.
So.
Okay.
And this is right there.
It's right there, it's the White House
Yeah.
next to it.
Yeah, and
Just before
it's
front.
beautiful. I
It's
mean,
done a great
they've done a
job.
really nice job with it.
Yeah.
So it's great.
Okay, any other questions for Lauren?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So were any of the improvements done, doesn't look like, that's not a historic building.
It is.
Oh, is
It
it?
is.
Is
Okay,
Yeah,
so,
we're giving them the historic tax stabilization, which is over 5 years, where our normal one is over 3.
now is that through the Village Center designation, or is that something that Essex Junction is doing? Because there's also, because we're a Village Center, historic buildings that do facade improvements are eligible for a 10% tax credit. So, does he even know?
I don't know that. I
Okay.
don't know that. With Robin that advised that they would be a historic.
Because I mean, I'm looking at the improvements that he did, and he did a lot of facade work.
Mhm.
And then, there's additional tax credits for bringing it up to code in terms of sprinklers and even IT. So I just want to make sure that he knows all the additional benefits that are available to him because we're a village center. So designated village center. Perhaps we can ask Robin if he could just let us know whether this company is aware of that.
He'll be back in 2 weeks.
He's gone to the old country.
He's gone to the mother country.
Any other questions for Lauren?
No.
It's a good point, Elaine, we'll have to figure that out.
Terry may have the answer too, so we might be able to give it to you
Awesome.
sooner than 2
Yeah.
weeks.
So do we hear a motion?
Oh. Hold on, I lost my page. I move that the trustees sign the agreement with Cyrus Patton for tax stabilization for the property at 8 Pearl Street.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And so now we are on to an update on the Steam Fest 2017 with Darby. Thanks, Darby, for
Thank you.
helping us out here.
Good evening. Thank you for having me tonight.
Sure.
So, as all of you have heard about Steamfest before, I won't bore you with all of the event details.
It's never boring.
So, what I'm here today is to talk to you about 3 main things. The first one is to have permission to have a band on the front lawn of Lincoln Hall to play during rush hour to get people excited, interested, to let them know that there's something fun going on here. The other thing is to have Aunt Dot's food shelf be handing out hot cocoa for donations in the little alcove on the porch of Lincoln Hall.
Mm-hmm.
And the third thing is to let you know that we need some volunteers for the info booth. And, well, I shouldn't say info booth, it's actually in the pergola that's right next to Nomad Coffee. We're going to have it lit up with all kinds of fun Christmas lights. And we need some people to come and greet people, hand out maps. No need to wear hats. So
But
it
that's
seems like a
fun.
really...
Yeah.
Do you have shifts in mind, or?
We do. Right now, we were actually just talking today about possibly having 1 or 2 hour shifts depending on the people's interest. We'll definitely need more people, probably 4 to 7-ish, and I don't think the 9 to 10 shift will be particularly busy, but you never know.
Is
So-
it just Friday night you need the people?
Just
or
Friday night. We do have other opportunities available Saturday, but the Friday one is the one that we're most looking for right now.
Can you send around?
I
what you
would be
need?
happy to.
Yeah,
That'd be great.
sign up if I can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Darby, generally speaking, how's it all going? Do you have a sense of it?
It's going fairly well.
Yeah.
I think that there's going to be a lot of really different things in this event
Mhm.
that people really haven't seen with village events. I know just today I went around with Julie and we looked at, I don't want to share any locations because we haven't nailed anything down, and we looked at a couple locations for the band, and there were a few things that I was like, wow, I would never have thought to have a band like that in that particular area. So I think it's going to get people really excited.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it seems like there's been a lot of energy going on social media, different places that people have been talking about it.
Okay.
Great. They've been working really hard on it.
Yeah, they have.
So, are we needing to take votes on these things, like the band and stuff, or are we just gonna give you nods? Is that how does this work? Pat,
I
what do
don't
you-
think there would be any issue at all with having a band right here.
Yeah, I wanna see how that works. I wanna see what happens
Yeah.
when you do
I
that.
think
so.
maybe the most difficult thing is figuring out the electrical needs and then making sure it happens. And again, Rick Jones does that with
Yeah.
the Christmas tree, so I think
Yeah.
we have it under control.
Yeah, I think we all wanna see that.
Yes.
Yeah,
I mean,
so,
They had, down at Rockies, it wasn't maybe this year, but in past years, they've had little bands play on the corner right there as
Yeah.
well, so.
okay, and then the other piece you wanted our permission, what was the other one?
The
Alcohol.
having
Yeah, yeah,
alcohol.
sure, yeah, I think that's,
Yeah.
I don't think there's any question about that,
No
so,
problem.
yeah, I think we're all good.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Will there be dancing?
Oh, yes, bring your dancing shoes. There will be dancing.
Excellent.
Awesome.
All right, anything else we need to know at this point, or stuff that we have to help you with, or
You
everything
know,
good?
Julie really put quite a bit of information in there.
Okay.
So I think she's,
Yep, no, I looked at it, it looks really
if
thorough,
you,
yeah.
if any of you have any ideas or suggestions or anything like that, we'd love to hear them. But other than that, definitely mark your calendars because I think it's gonna be a big event.
All righty, all right,
Great.
all right. Any other questions for Darby? Everyone good?
No.
Okay, thank you very much, Darby.
Thanks for
Thank
that.
you.
And now we're on to new business, and so you can stay right there and tell us about Go Vermont grant application for bike racks.
All right. So before I get into this, I want to mention that the village did receive this grant in 2012. And we used it, it was a little bit of a different focus back then. And we used it to pretty much hand out materials. We formed it was called a Sustainable Transportation Committee. And we worked on, I guess you could consider it a precursor to the BWAC. And we worked on getting out the word about carpooling and different biking, walking, different things like that. And we want to apply for it again. So it's $500 and any community in Vermont is eligible to apply and we're interested in applying for it to put in some bike racks throughout the village. There aren't a whole lot
That's a
and
good idea.
a lot of the ones that are there are in kind of sad condition.
Mm-hmm.
So the Bike Walk Committee felt that this would be a good project, and as well, they were interested in getting a $500 match from the matching grant fund. This is not a requirement for the grant, but it would enable us to purchase more bike racks. And speaking of bike racks, we've also been working with CTE to try to get some of their programs to design and produce bike racks, and that's something we've been working continually with. It's a bit of a long process. We started back in the spring, and bike racks won't be ready for the spring or possibly even the spring afterwards, but that's another thing that the committee's been working on. And we're hoping that those bike racks are gonna be very artistic and creative, not just like a couple slabs of metal. We want something really cool from it.
Okay, that's good. Yeah.
How much does a bike rack cost?
It depends on the bike rack. You can get you can get anything from like a $25 bike rack to
A $20,000 rack.
Yeah.
the Cadillac of bike
Oh.
racks. We will not be getting the Cadillac of bike
Okay,
racks.
good. That's good. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Are there specific locations already in mind?
You know, the committee was bouncing around a couple locations. We wanted to see if we got the grant before we really made an idea of any locations. They were discussing possibly doing a map of all the places that they thought could use bike racks at their next meeting, so.
That'd be helpful to have. So
Yeah.
over time, you
Yeah.
can get them out.
Yeah. There is still, if you can pass this along,
Mhm.
there is still a bike rack, an old one,
Mhm.
on the lawn of Fairpoint from when the farmer's market happened.
Mhm.
That could probably be relocated because it's never used.
I will pass
You
the
could
message
have-
along.
That'd be great, thank you, Darby. Keep meaning to do that.
Okay, so do I hear a motion?
We'll make a motion that we authorize the staff to submit the walk-friendly communities redesignation survey and approve a $500 match for the matching grant fund.
Do I hear a second?
Yeah, that
Oh,
that doesn't make sense. I was wondering about that.
What? Wait a second.
So we're asking for money to apply to the Vermont Go, but the recommendation is listed as a walk-friendly community redesignation survey. Because I was going to ask what we're doing for walkers, because we seem to be focusing on bikers. And then when I was reading this, I'm like, it might have gotten
so that was a boo-boo.
confused. Okay, so I will change my motion.
Yeah.
Yes.
Village
sorry.
trustees authorize the staff to submit the Vermont Go grant and approve a $500 match from the matching grant fund.
Okay.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Good catch, Lori. Thank
Can you tell us anything about the walk-friendly communities?
So-
I'm putting you on the spot, so if you can't,
No
that's
problem.
fine.
So we did apply for a walk-friendly communities application, and we submitted that last month. I think that's in the consent agenda. One thing that was difficult about that is Essex Junction is, at least as of 5 years when we first got it, was by far the smallest community to ever receive it, which is cool. But one of the things, some of their recommendations were things that we could never, like, yeah. They were very interested in crash data and making all these statistics about crash data. And I mean, we've got things like 2 crashes this year involving pedestrians, 3 the next year, back to 2. So
we should be designated walk-friendly.
Right.
In November. Come on.
stands to reason.
Jeez.
So one thing, the bike walk committee is aware that that's one of their weaker points right now.
Okay.
They just, for whatever reason, they seem to be attracting more
Bikers,
people. Yes, and they have an opening right now, and they would love for a walker.
I know, I'm trying to get some people to.
So if you know anybody, please send them.
Great. Thank you, Debbie.
Of course.
Thank you, Darby.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are up onto update on the manager recruitment process. And I went to the select board meeting last night because Max is in Houston with the Red Cross. And we just wanted to update everybody, and we sent you a bunch of materials. The big thing was the survey, but you also should have gotten a contract between us and MRI and the town. And I think everything I presented here, it's sort of self-explanatory, but I just wanted to make sure, in case any of you had questions. One of the issues that came up last night is that Dawn asked Max and I, just right off the top of our heads, to give just a first-person narrative of what we thought some of the highlights and the important challenges and opportunities were in the village. And I went right home and did it because I'm verbose and I do stuff like that. And Max was reluctant and reticent, and then he got called to Houston, so he didn't do it. But I showed him mine. He said he didn't have a problem with it, but I don't know if he's going to do one himself when he gets back. But that was when someone asked me about it last night, I said, there's nothing that I said that's not in the survey you got. The survey you have asks so many questions, it pretty much gets all to the same thing. So I guess the point is that Max and I are going to get to do the survey twice, is what I'm saying. But it doesn't add extra weight to our words or anything. It's just extra work. But the places, one of the other interesting things is the places where the job is going to be, and again, I forgot the list, is going to be advertised. It's with each state in New England has the equivalent of a VLCT, and it is going to be advertised with each one of those organizations on their website. It is also going to be advertised with the ICMA website, which is the big one. And then we debated, Don recommended putting it in the Boston Globe. It's monster.com, Boston Globe. He thought that hits a lot of places in New England. A lot of managers would look at that. It wasn't a big expense, so we said, yeah. He said he's had success with that, but that's the only newspaper that he was going to put it in. So I think the entire process that we did that we signed on to was pretty much what Don laid out for us during his interview here, if you recall that.
Yeah.
There weren't any surprises. And the other issue that came up was, this obviously is sort of email intensive between, at least for now, between Dawn and Max and I. We're CCing Travis on these just as a sort of a support staff in the town. I can send all those emails your way if you're just dying for more, even greater transparency than what's already available to you. I'm glad to send you those emails, but if you don't, then I'll restrain myself and not send them to you. We'll just try to let you know when anything eventful happens. I think the big issue is the survey, getting that done. We are all needing to get that done as soon as possible, and hopefully have it all done by our joint meeting on the 26th. Dan, I know you're not going to be here, but if you can get that done, send it in, that'll be fine. And because he's going to pull all those together and try to create a profile of what, and hopefully there'll be some consistency there. So that's the key piece. The other thing that is a little uncertain is we all agreed and liked the idea of having focus groups and to bring the public in. Exactly, Dawn had in mind 3 focus groups, a sort of a staff focus group and 2 sort of citizen focus groups, but we weren't sure if we just advertised, on Front Porch Forum, hey, come join a focus group and be involved in a manager recruitment, whether we would actually get enough people. Would it be better for us to go out and recruit people? Would we prefer not to advertise it and just recruit people? So we haven't figured that out yet. There's time to figure that out. So I thought that that's something we could discuss at the joint meeting with the select board in 2 weeks. Just how we want to go about the focus group process.
Before that meeting, maybe Travis could reach out to the school district, and because they held 3 focus group meetings, and ask maybe how they advertise, what they would have done differently, type of questions might be helpful.
Okay.
Who was the contact person, do you know?
It would probably be, I think his name is Ben Dickey.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I would reach out to him, yeah.
Okay. Pat, do you have that as a note?
I will in about 2 seconds.
Just because it just happened, it might be.
Yeah, no, that's a good
It's not
suggestion.
very
They just did their
from them.
superintendent search.
Yeah.
That might be really helpful, because we weren't, we just weren't
Yeah.
sure how to go. We want to do it, but we're not sure.
Yeah.
And he's done it differently in different places.
Okay.
I'm trying to think if there was anything else.
I
that
do
came
like
up.
in the contract, specifically lays out doing a community survey,
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
which I think is really helpful, because we're gonna be providing our input.
Right.
It's helpful for the community before those forums, so
Right.
that's great.
Yeah.
My other question, if we're on to questions.
Yep,
is,
yes, please, yeah, that's very.
So will our individual survey responses be public?
That's an excellent question. Pat, I don't know if we have figured this out, and Pat, I keep turning to Pat, I'm not sure Pat is aware of what we're talking about. Do you know?
I do.
Okay.
Yes, I've been part of the discussions. Travis is the contact person for this recruitment process, but I'm involved in some of these staff-related side of things, because it's new. I think we determined, when I say we, I think it also included Bill Ellis, that the documents that you're gonna be working on are draft documents, and they do not belong to you. They're sent to the consultant firm. That firm will put them all together and present them to the legislative bodies, and at which point they will be a public document.
So the results will be aggregated.
So they're gonna be aggregated, and I think they're anonymous, and, and I know Bill, when last I was part of the phone conversation, Bill was gonna mill it around a little bit with, some folks over at McNeil, Letty, and Sheehan. But before he hung up, he said he thought that was probably gonna be the case, but he wanted to double check it, so unless I hear anything different, that's the answer thus far.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Dan?
Only one thing, just a typo on question number 10, it says, based upon your experience and or observations, please share perceptions, should be your
Yeah.
perception.
Yeah, sorry.
But whatever.
So has
it's
this
not
been
a-
signed, the contract?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the contract's been signed.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, it's just right there.
And we signed off on the sir, I mean, this was the big thing that came up. Don had a draft survey, and we went over it and recommended some changes. He had some things in there that weren't appropriate for Essex and Essex Junction, and we added a few things that he didn't have. So, you know, we kind of tried to speed things along instead of saying, oh, let's wait until the joint meeting. So we thought that this really got, I mean, it's comprehensive enough. It sort of gets to everything. So.
Is this survey to be filled out by us for the village? Because like question 10 is, based on your experience or observations, please share your perceptions of the following municipal activities.
Right.
You know, so fire department, we're just gonna answer for the village.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just double checking.
The other thing is, this committee, the people that would be involved, we're talking about not only just trustees and select board
Right.
members, but people from the public in general, so they're gonna do the survey as well.
No, he was going to spend, as I understand it, he was going to spend time with them and
Okay.
develop questions for them.
Okay.
I don't think they're gonna be
Yeah,
getting into this level of detail.
Okay.
They really, if you think of it, you know, some of the questions being asked here are sort of stuff that only
Unique
the
to our
boards would know.
roles.
So, yeah, but he anticipated that, is I'm remembering, it's gonna be pretty much people who volunteer are gonna be asked to understand that they're gonna have to be committing a half a day, to spending, you know, several hours with him. He envisioned having like 3 different sessions. So one morning, afternoon, and then into the evening. So, it sounds pretty comprehensive.
Thank you for doing all the work
Yeah, no
you've done.
problem. Any other questions?
Nice to move it along.
Okay. And so we are now on to approve and sign registration for local update of census addresses. Pat?
Yes, that's the first step for the preparation for the 2020 census, is getting these addresses squared away. And of course, it's imperative to initiate this. We need the signature on the attached paper, the attached form,
Yeah, I've got it
from the highest elected official. So
Ah.
that would be you, George.
here. Okay.
And so, really, the only real action needed is to authorize the village president to sign the paperwork for this local update of census addresses initiative.
Okay. I won't make that.
I'll move that the trustees authorize the president to sign off on the attached paperwork for the respective community.
Second.
Any further questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, great. And now we are on to review and acknowledge receipt of general rules and ethics policy. And we are curious about why we're getting this now, and no one seems to know. Has anyone been acting unethically?
Not an election.
All right. We've all been good boys and girls, so we don't know why.
And that is so true, and so this is here in large part because I was told that during during our organizational meeting, it wasn't signed according to Patty.
Yeah.
And so this is sort of a little late, but better late than never. So it's recommended trustees review Article 3 of the general rules and personnel regulations, and take a look at the acknowledgement form, and if everything is copacetic with you, please sign it, printing your name and dating it,
Okay.
and leave the form here with us.
Okay.
And in advance, I thank you for your patience on this matter.
All righty.
Can I just make an observation that the ethics policy has no teeth? If any of us misbehave, there is absolutely nothing anyone can do about it. And I think
This is
that's not good.
an accurate observation, it's a good observation, and it begs the question, would you like to see something from the staff on what you could do about it, should you wish as a board? There may be some options available to you. I know the school board has options in this matter.
Do they?
Yes, they do. But I think The beauty of ethics is that it is you all individually who have to face yourself every morning in the mirror. And if others find out about something that's questionable, they'll run to the newspaper or make it public. And I think this is really, it's an internal guide or direction. But if you want to make it external, there are bodies that do that, and they put in their governing structure, whatever it might be, things, you can't force someone to resign, or you can't kick somebody off of their elected position, but you certainly could provide public censure.
I
And
think it would be worth seeing.
you could say, hey, your colleagues on the board feel that you've knowingly did X, Y, and Z, and you did, and that affects all of us. I mean, those kinds of things.
I'm just speaking for myself, I'd be interested in seeing options.
Okay.
Well, yeah,
Just
seeing him
seeing
and doing it.
Seeing
Yeah.
Do we need, okay, so we don't, probably don't need to vote on that, we just want to produce that sometime.
Okay, I'm gonna give these to you. No, these guys.
Has everybody signed that? So I'm going to pass around the Little League resolution for people to sign too. Pat, are we done with that piece?
Yes, we are, thank you very much.
So we'll move on to the trustees' meeting schedule.
Wait a minute,
Oh,
we
no?
have the credit card.
Yeah, sorry,
addition.
Lauren, go
Yeah.
ahead. Why don't you, quick explanation?
So the EJRP takes a lot of payments in by credit card, and in order to keep them separate from the rest of our keeping account and not have a total nightmare on our hands trying to track it, we would like to set up a separate account for that. And Susan, Brad, Jennifer Willingham, and Andrea Leo would be the signers on that, just to keep track of their credit card payments.
Okay.
And we're asking you to approve the resolution.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
looks like you need to sign it, George, and.
I need to sign
somebody
it?
else. Yeah,
Okay,
and then attest by one other officer, and then its secretary votes.
okay. Well, let's make sure we have a motion first.
I'll move that the trustees approve a resolution to set up a checking account at the Community Bank NA for the purpose of providing a separate account to receive credit card payments from the Recreation Department.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, passes. So I'll sign that in a second here. Well, let's
Yeah, this one
keep
isn't
moving.
stapled, so you can. have that
Okay.
one. Oh, wait a minute.
Oh, is it what? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's the
I'm not
page
really
that
sure
you
where
have
I'm
to
supposed
sign.
to sign.
Oh.
It's not a big deal, we'll figure that out. Okay, so let's move on to the trustees' meeting schedule. Manager report and the trustees' meeting schedule. And so, as I understand it, we have one meeting coming up on the 26th, that's our next joint meeting. Pat?
Yes, yes, we do, and I don't know that the agenda has been established, and as soon as Matt gets back, maybe the three of us could sit down and put your agenda together for the joint meeting. Yeah, maybe that's all that I have on that. There could be some things done individually if the boards would like, but I think this will be a pretty long meeting. Topics for the status report on recruitment and selection, and what's been done thus far.
Right.
So, just an observation, I'm finding it just a little difficult to get more than one meeting at a time set.
Yes.
But I think that maybe a function of the fact that this is a once every 25-year process we're going through, or you're going through, so.
Is this, remind me now, is this a special meeting or is this a select board meeting that we're attending? How is this working?
I think this is a select board, a special meeting?
It's trustee meeting, isn't it?
It's our regular meeting, it's our regular meeting.
It's our, okay, I'm sorry, I meant,
Yeah,
it's our meeting.
But we're having it at their location.
We're having it at 81 Main, that's why I got confused,
Yeah,
okay.
and-
But it is our regular meeting, but we're holding it
Yeah,
there.
and so within that.
And so I just want to, so they're going to, is the whole meeting going to be a joint meeting, or are we going to be doing trustee business?
If we need to do some business, we'll get some business done. We're gonna start the
Beforehand.
joint meeting, I think the thought was to have it start at 7, and so that your trustees could do something between 6:30 and 7,
Something quick for us to
if
get done.
if we needed to get something done.
Okay, okay,
Um,
all right,
so-
just wanted to just get a sense of it, okay.
And as far as the manager's report goes, there's, one of the things I had spoken to the select board about in the future, and maybe I mentioned it, I don't know if I've ever have, but that, it's a critical component to get off on the right foot as a new manager working for a new elected board, and in this case, 10 people on the newly elected boards, or the elected boards. And the evaluation is an important thing to start off on a positive right foot. And to that end, there are consultants who specialize in goal setting and team building occurring at the same time, so that the consultant would work with the manager and the elected officials to come up with goals specific to what's expected for the first year and then through 4 or 5 years or 10 years down the road. And then do the same thing with the manager and the department heads. And that puts everybody in the entire organization centering around common goals and objectives. So that when it comes time for an evaluation, you're not evaluating somebody on whether or not they dress well or are super articulate, but rather the degree to which they are effective in getting done what everybody wants done. You can add those other things to it, but that's the critical piece that starts everybody off on the same page. And we're not taken for a ride hither and yon because somebody didn't like one aspect of something. It's a business evaluation. And it's very successful in team building. And I think that's critical for you and your new manager to establish that. And if it's done within the first 6 months, that's timely enough. And I don't know how expensive it'll be. I mean, I used to do that each time I started a new job. And it's marvelous because you're brand new and everybody gets a chance to start over again with a new person. And it's great. But I'm just offering it. I know the recommendation in the memo says, vote on this for the first 6 months. I'm asking you to consider doing that, and also in working with MRI, that's the kind of person who probably would know the kind of person or people to do this. So I think that might be something that, as you work through this process, that they may be very helpful with. So just a thought.
I think it's a great thought, Pat, appreciate
Yeah,
it.
I agree.
It's a very good thought.
And that's all I have, sir.
Appreciate it very much, thank you. That's very forward thinking, appreciate it. Okay, so we are on to anything else, trustee comments, concerns, reading file. Lane?
I have a couple updates.
Yep.
If anybody else needs to go first, that's fine.
Oh, no?
So the Public Works Committee finished their work on August 30th, and the draft report of our recommendations is underway. So we've got a draft, and it's out to committee right now for revision, and the boards will have it on October 2nd. So I would like to request that in October, we just talked about the meeting schedule, and I totally forget what we discussed. In terms of a joint meeting with the select board, could either of the October meetings be a joint meeting to discuss public works?
I don't see why not.
Preferably the 24th, or, well, the later October meeting for both boards, if we could somehow either have the select board come to one of ours, or we go to one of theirs,
Yeah.
but the committee asks that both boards be present and we present to them at the same
I
time.
think Sue, I know, I didn't remember Sue making the request, but I know Sue gave a presentation last night too about it. So
Oh.
I think that that's something that will be amenable all the way around, but yeah, why
Okay.
don't we sort of pencil it in for one of the later meetings in October?
Yeah, that would be very helpful.
Yep.
So you'll have something to read at the beginning of the month, and then we'd like to present.
Yep.
Two other things. So the mural project that I'm trying to get off the ground, I'm a little stymied at the moment because I'm anxious to estimate cost before putting this out to the public to do, and that's a big building. And so I need to figure out how much it's gonna cost to prepare the surface of that wall before a muralist comes in. And do you include the cost of the preparation in the cost of what you're gonna give the muralist to do the work, or do we do it first? So I'm just doing a little research. I talked to the Cambridge Arts Council, who did the 2 silos at the roundabout up there, and I talked to Julie and Kristen from Steamfest, who have some experience with murals, as it turns out. So I'm continuing that, and my hope was to release a call for artists at Steamfest. Probably not gonna happen, because I wanna get that number down first before we commit to doing this and ask for submissions. And then the last thing, I just wanted to give you a heads up that Patty convened a 125th anniversary committee meeting, and which consisted of Patty, Tim German, and myself. And we just talked about whatever, what we could do, and she brought out this incredibly cool book of the minutes of the first meetings of the village in handwriting. It was awesome. It was very cool. And Tim knew, like, every person at the table. He knew who every one of them was.
He was here then,
I know, right, not personally. So Patty is collected a bunch of ideas, and she's doing a little bit of research, and then we'll probably meet again. And then at some point in the fall, you'll get an update about what kinds of events we'd like to do to commemorate our and costs to commemorate our 125th anniversary.
That's really great.
It is going to be
Is there a
fun.
name for that? The Sussman
There's gotta be
Centennial
a name
is-
for it.
There's gotta be a name.
Semi-centennial.
I think the 125th works.
Yeah, it works.
You like that, huh?
Yeah.
No Latin, huh?
So,
Oh, that's great, Elaine. That's terrific.
I have one simple one.
Yep.
And it got me thinking because of Steamfest. We had talked about putting some better signage about our parking options, and I'm not sure it happened. And I'm wondering if by chance it could happen before Steamfest. So we had talked about it not just saying parking, but public parking.
Well, they have that sign now. There's a sign here. Yeah.
there are some additional
Yeah,
signs.
it says,
There
it says,
is?
it says public parking, it's an official looking municipal
It
sign.
said, there is, okay,
Yeah.
I haven't walked by it.
And it's
How about
also-
for here?
It's also lit. Oh, here, I don't know.
Nothing's changed here.
Yeah, and it's dark here, I mean, it's really dark in this parking lot. So even if we can just maybe put up some better signage here too, I don't know if Rick has some extras around, but I think it would be helpful.
Sure.
I know. So I apologize, I have not been near that
No, that's
parking
okay.
lot,
I go
so-
by it all the time.
Okay.
It's just there over the weekend.
Okay, so here, I mean, I think we had talked about wherever there's public parking, so this parking lot would be helpful too.
Thank you.
Alrighty.
I only had one question about the pedestrian bridge and the note that was in here from Engineering Ventures.
Mhm.
My impression was that the bridge was supposed to be temporary for a year and that the sidewalk plow can't go on that bridge
Okay.
because of the stability concerns.
Yeah.
So this is now another winter where kids who have to walk to get to the high school aren't able to get there without walking through the snow.
I think we're shoveling it manually.
It's being shoveled. Holy.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that long of a span to shovel.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
not very
it's
wide,
pretty-
it's short span.
yeah, it's
so I
pretty
think It's
short.
pretty easy to shovel.
It's not even as long as this
Yeah.
road. It's
Public
probably
Works
half of
guys.
this.
It's a very short span.
Okay.
Thank you, Town.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank them
Yeah.
for this. Yeah.
Yeah, one of because there's the parking lot that's right next, on the other side of the little brook
Yeah.
there. People park in there to go to the town office all the time, so
Yeah.
I think they're motivated to keep that clear.
I was more so concerned about the middle and high school students and the
Yeah.
adults.
We should be concerned about that too.
Okay.
They all have insurance carriers.
Right.
Real quick,
Yeah,
just,
Dan?
I'll make it public, I will not be here for the September 26th meeting or the Steam Fest either. I'll be
Okay.
away.
Oh, where are you
Oh,
Going,
Perry.
oh, Perry,
going?
yes.
Oh, right.
Going overseas.
Great, good for you.
We could Skype you in if you want.
There's Wi-Fi.
Yes.
Yeah.
Say no, Dan, say no.
Champs-Élysées.
It won't be too late at night,
It depends.
Right around dinner time.
Actually, yeah, it'd be like kind of 5 hours difference. I think.
Okay.
At 11:30 5:30 PM that time, send us a picture of
Okay.
yourself.
I will.
Okay, are we good? Everyone good for this? So we are on to the consent agenda.
I'll move we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Any questions? Any further questions? All in favor?
Aye.
And so I will now move that, I'll hear a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Go ahead.
I move to adjourn.
I'll second.
Just let you guys do that. I don't like to. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Okay, passes. So we are done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Lauren, I'm going to take a minute to, I'm not seeing where I'm supposed to sign.